So much has happened. All right, let's do this.
What was the inspiration for wanting to create an origin story and game for Lara Croft?
So we've sort of told the story the last couple of years that we're very fortunate to inherit the Tomb Raider franchise. And in probably about 2008, 2009, we started to look at what if we were given the opportunity to take the franchise to new heights, to new places, somewhere where we could put our mark on it. And for us, we felt that the franchise in general had started to wane a little bit. People had felt that Tomb Raider was just iterating on the same model over and over and over again. So it became a unique opportunity for us to see what would we do if we were to put our mark on it, we were to reimagine it. We started looking at franchises outside of the video game industry and seeing the success that the Batmans, the James Bonds have. And that was really the start of it. From there, it was about trying to define sort of if we were given the opportunity, where would we want to go? Where would we see ourselves in 5 or 10 years? So I think it was just the franchise needed it. It needed that shot in the arm.
You showed a study that found brand recognition for Lara almost equal of Mario in video games, blowing away a character like Master Chief. What do you think has made her endure?
I just think she's been around. She defined an era of video games at a time when, you know, the PlayStation 1 and the Sega Saturn were exploding on the scene. And people were able to go and play and do things which they were never able to do before. And she became a pop icon. At the time, she was one of the very first video game characters to ever don the front of many magazines in the UK and then cross over the waters over here. She was one of the very first video game characters and one of the very few that is still don the cover of Entertainment Weekly. So it was a character that everybody felt they understood. At a time when video games were starting to become mainstream media, Lara was relevant to an audience that was exploding, so people latched onto it, and she became very successful as a result.
Looking back, what do you consider the big marketing moments or beats that really nailed it, that really put this, on gamers' radar?
When I came on, I set some very lofty goals for the studio and for the company. One of them was to get a Game Informer cover, which at the time everybody looked at us and said, it's probably not going to happen. I had just come off the back of Batman Arkham Asylum and managed to get the cover for that when everybody told me I couldn't get it either. So that was a real stick in the ground. After that, we saw a lot of people knocking on our door. We had people sitting up and realizing that we meant business. And as a result of that, we ended up on stage at the Microsoft keynote 2 years in a row. We ended up creating some phenomenal trailers, phenomenal assets that really told a story. And I think the beats for us were very specifically tailored to the emotion and the arc of Lara Croft. We wanted to tell the tale all the way through her journey to become this character that we saw at the end of the game.
Okay, Karl, the Conan O'Brien interview, it was brilliant. One of his best. Does he take any guidance on what to highlight in those, or do you arrange it and kind of just pray?
You get to work with them for a fee. They create the piece and it goes online, and depending on how many views it gets online, it normally makes it on TV. We decided that there was an opportunity to get Camilla interviewed because Camilla is on Grey's Anatomy and Californication, also the voice of Lara. He fell in love with Camilla as Lara in the game when he was demoing it. So to be honest, it was just a case of, from a marketing perspective, it was joining the dots. It was bringing all those pieces together, and that it was mainstream. It had the potential to step outside of what other games traditionally being sort of held back from. There's certain games that don't have a face. There's certain games that haven't been around as long. And I think Tomb Raider was just one of those unique ones that even Conan and Team Coco realized that this is bigger than just the video game space, and it has an opportunity to expand to a whole new audience.
Can you give us an off-the-cuff post-mortem? What went right? What went wrong?
But that's a tough question because we've only just put the game out, so reviews are still coming in. They've been incredibly good reviews. We've had an overwhelmingly positive response. So first and foremost, I think we're celebrating, thankfully, what we've done right, which is take some bold choices with the franchise, and it's been embraced by fans, critics, and new fans alike. And moving forward, we certainly do take in feedback, and we do that every time we put a game out. And we sort of sift through it and say, well, what would we like to change, and how do we actually evolve it?
So, Darrell, what do you think is the bigger challenge, creating this reboot Lara and her origin story, deciding where to take her next?
Without doubt, it's creating a reboot. I think it's, without doubt, the most difficult game we've ever had to produce. Because, on the one hand, you have the history and the DNA and the baggage of a franchise, good and bad baggage of what people know and love. And on the other hand, you have to create something that's new so it doesn't feel like it's the same old thing. So the actual answer of what the reboot should be is a very thin line that you have to walk between old and new, and it's a very tight balancing act. And even though it feels like there's a lot of freedom to reboot, there actually is way less freedom than you think there is because of that need to balance both the new and the old. So I think the sequel will without doubt be much easier than this one.